Hello, everyone. I am Duke, and welcome to the FeelNoPaint podcast. And today we're joined by Ryan and Norman, who are going to talk us through your questions from Reddit on the tournament pack for Adepticon. So, before we get started, if you want to support the channel, click the link in the pinned comment where you can jump into the Patreon and you'll be able to access the Discord, exclusive artworks, and members only content. With the intro out of the way, we'll dive into the questions we have today. So first off, I'll just say to you guys, do you want to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what Goonhammer is for the people that might not know?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Norman, mild Norman on Goonhammer. I have been playing war games now for 5 years, mostly Warhammer 40,000, but a good amount of AOS. And then since Trench Crusade has dropped, it's been kind of nonstop over here. Most of my content is competitive focused when I'm writing for 40k and AOS, but I also organize the Goonhammer Open Narrative every year for Warhammer 40k and review a lot of the Crusade content for 40k as well. So like narrative has always been something that's like close to my heart, which is one of the reasons that I started playing Trench Crusade in the first place, actually. But yeah, kind of do a little bit of everything. That's always been my bag. Ryan, I'll let you go.
Yeah, so I'm Ryan. Might know me as Bread on the internet. And yeah, I've been playing war games since around 2019, mostly Age of Sigmar, with some 40k dabbled in there, and then now Trench Crusade big time. And then, throughout the years, if you read our dev diary, kind of talk about more our competitive ideologies and where we're kind of coming from. But yeah, excited to be here. Excited to kind of clear some things up about our pack.
Yeah. Reddit.
So for folks, go ahead.
I was just going to say Reddit had some comments, but yeah, go ahead if you want to tell us what Goonhammer is for the people that don't know.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so for folks who don't know, Goonhammer is a wargaming review website. I guess we do all kinds of gaming at this point. We've branched out into video games. We got Uma Musin. I don't know idea how to say that. The horse girl racing game, the mobile one. We're reviewing that every Monday now, so I can't even say tabletop games anymore. But yeah, we cover a little bit of everything. It's really just a bunch of folks who are passionate about the games that they cover. A place where they can come together and just post stuff. Originally, it was a personal blog for a bunch of the founders, coming from Something Awful. That's where the name Goonhammer comes from. I've never even been to Something Awful, so we've gotten far away from that. But yeah, like it's slowly but surely becoming like a real company, which is kind of weird. But yeah, like for the most part, it's just folks who are passionate about the stuff they cover.
No, fair. It seems to me like there always seems to be a new person sort of joining the team to write articles for you guys as well. So it's always nice to see new stuff popping up and new games as well coming onto the website. But do one of you want to talk us through how you got involved with the Trench Crusade tournament pack and why you've chosen Adepticon maybe as the tournament to reveal it at?
Yeah, I can go through that. So the story kind of starts at Adepticon last year. Ryan was competing at the AOS GT there. And what was it? Oh, we knew Trench Crusade was going to be there. And we were really stoked about the game coming out. And I had texted Ryan, hey, make sure you go to the booth and like get me something. I still have that Black Rail patch on my war game bag.
I got you.
But while he was there, he met up with Jamie, the COO over at Factory Fortress, and they hit it off. There's a viral video you could find online through very easy Googling of Ryan eating an egg that I guess Jamie had seen right before flying over. And we got his business card through that. Then we hit him up before Nova this past year because we were both going to be there. We're both local to the DC area. And we wanted to just, meet up. Like really for me, it was like, oh, let's get a cadence going for articles, see what their objectives are, see what ours are, make sure we're covering the stuff they want to cover. Not for nothing, see if we can get some preview stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we met up with them at Nova, had a great conversation with their team who were running the events over there, and Jamie. And then I want to say it was day 2 of the Age of Sigmar tournament. I wasn't playing any events that year. I was kind of just walking around doing stuff. But Ryan, you were in the AOS GT and getting your fucking ass. Oh.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think we're past the 30-second mark or whatever it is, so you're fine.
I'll take it again either way.
I'm not bleeping it out. That takes way too long.
That's fair enough. Yeah, so at Nova that year, Ryan, you were doing the AOS GT. I want to say it was the second day, and you were getting your butt kicked pretty bad.
I was getting bent over, for sure, and not vibing with the list that I brought and everything. And Trench Crusade. I mean, we had already been into it for a while at that point, and I was it definitely looked more appetizing, more fun. And in between rounds and in between nights, like Norman said, going over to the Trench Crusade crew and just hanging out and talking about the game and talking about just whatever, just having a good time. The game looked more appetizing to me in that moment for sure. We were then luckily able to fill in for some drops for the narrative on the last day.
Then from there, afterwards, so we had talked a little bit. One of the conversations we had with Jamie during that time was, what is match play going to look like? Because, I mean, Ryan and I are both competitive sweats. Where I was angling.
Not a choice.
I was angling for best Black Grail player. Still might try, even though I have to organize all these events now. But we were like, what is this going to look like? Well, we wanted to, mine as much information we can on the match play stuff, because at that point, Ryan and I were really the only people playing locally, so we were doing a lot of one-offs anyway.
Right.
And the way we generally engage with games is not necessarily competitive, but symmetrical match play style stuff. Right. So, just curious about that. But a few months later, we heard from their events crew, that they wanted us to run a competitive event at Adepticon.
Right.
And we said, absolutely. Hell yeah. We're totally into that. So we started planning there, and then a few weeks after that, we did our interview with Jamie, which you can find on Goonhammer's YouTube page. Shameless plug.
May as well.
But exactly. But afterwards, we got to talking about Adepticon and what our plans were and what we were trying to do. And Jamie said, we can, potentially make this into something more in the future after Adepticon. Right. So we'll be using Adepticon as a test bed, but hopefully we're hoping to develop this out into a more competitive format. Proper.
Yeah.
Not there yet. I want to be very clear. The Adepticon pack is not representative of what competitive Trench Crusade will or won't look like. It may look very similar. It may look very different. This is our first stab, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And things may change. Things will change. I can already tell you things will change.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Sure, we'll talk about
it.
So, do you want to talk us through what the challenges of bringing a narrative game into a competitive sort of rule set is? Were there any issues that were standout issues for you for bringing a game into that sort of more balanced type of play style?
Sure. I mean, the first and foremost thing, especially, talking and luckily being able to work really closely with all the Trench Crusade crew, is that they've made it very clear that Trench Crusade is a narratively focused system and is designed in a narratively focused way. And with that in the game, we don't want to simply just strip the identity of Trench Crusade.
No.
And a challenge, but it's also kind of, I mean, it's a fun part really, is seeing how we can take this narratively focused space and make it where where it could be balanced or symmetrical in a way for players to like flex their ability, their skill at the game.
Yeah.
And their ability to make decisions on the table and make decisions making lists. But without it just being like a flat map and you can play chess if you want. Like you can there are other games to do things. Like it still has to be Trench Crusade.
Yeah. One of the things that became apparent pretty early when we were doing our design stuff is like one of the core components to Trench Crusade is randomness, right? There's high spiky moments and it makes for very good narrative set pieces. So for example, like a Wretched, you could strip Tough off like, I don't know, Brazen Bull, right away. You can even, I think they don't even have Tough. I think you can just kill them. But like you could just roll 12 and kill something, right? With your 20 Ducat idiot that's running around. And that's very spiky in terms of play experience, but it's intended, right? It's so you could have these really cool narrative moments. You can push for these, like, oh, well, I'm going to go full bore. I'm going to push this thing into the middle. And if this succeeds, I can win this game.
Yeah.
And we definitely did not want to smooth any of those edges off. Like, that's pretty integral, I think, to what makes Trench Crusade is creating those player stories. So that was something we wanted to keep. If folks are wondering why there's so many action things scoring in our games, is we knew we needed stuff for people to fight over, right? You need parts of the table to go to and fight, but we also wanted it to feel like you were doing something in a lot of the missions. I think it's pretty clear from the feedback we've gotten so far that that's going to need to take a look at it on how exactly we want to represent all that. Currently, like front runner is just make the actions easier to do, +1 dice, things like that. But we can get into more of that later. Like there were a lot of interesting things that we wanted to maintain, and that's actually the reason the duelist system came about. Also,
I was going to ask about that. Sorry, go on if you want to explain what that duel list is, and also, do you think more games should use a dual sort of list system?
So we ripped it off from Song of Ice and Fire. We took a look at other skirmish games, and a lot of Song of Ice and Fire is a rank and flank, not a skirmish game, but each of your ranks is effectively a big square dude. It still works.
Sometimes I feel like a big square dude.
Reddit makes you feel like that a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, you say that again. But Song of Ice and Fire has like a duelist system. Even competitive Age of Sigmar, there's one event in Nashville that uses a duelist system. Kill Team has, you kind of bring like everything you could bring, and then you build a little bit at the table. You could use your equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of different competitive skirmish games have a similar thing where there's some element of list manipulation at the table.
Yeah. MCP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That too. Yep. So the way the system works right now, for those who aren't aware, you make a standard list, and then you make another standard list. Just the only restriction is it has to be within the same faction. You can use different sub-factions. So, like in our tests, one of our last games in our tests, I was running Great Hunger with like super elite, super tall Great Hunger, and I was running really go wide Dirge for Black Grail.
Right.
And Ryan was running Wrath, Court, and Envy, I think was the other one.
And then Envy. Court.
Yeah. So it was real like, I'm gonna apply my forehead to your army and then hope it breaks, or really tricky teleporting stuff. Yeah. And playing with that system, there's an interesting element at the table where it's like, all right, well, I think he's gonna take this. Like when we were playing, if Ryan takes Wrath, my Great Hunger stuff failed. Like it just pulled. There's a lot of fire, and my Grigori Gulas don't have any armor, and they just die because, you ignore all my toughness mechanics. But if he picks Envy, then my Great Hunger is actually stronger because I can go in, punch stuff, disrupt things.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting element of like trying to figure out what we think we're gonna pick, and hopefully you designed a list that won't lose if you pick the wrong one, because that's bad. But it adds another layer of skill to the game. that also allows you to play into more narrative lists that don't just like hit a wall like card counter and then you have to like stop your entire tournament run. You just switch to the other list, and you can stay thematic with both without making too many sacrifices as you hit obstacles.
Well, that's one of the problems, isn't it? Because you could be playing Knights of Avarice, for example, and then run into a Black Grail list, which completely negates your use of gas. So having that dual list does help with those sort of matchups. But sorry, go on, Ryan, if you want to carry on what you're going to say.
No, I mean you absolutely you hit the point. Because I mean, like we said before, with the other skirmish games that have implemented a thing at the table, another element, not necessarily an RPS type thing going on, but it helps with the kind of insane skew that you kind of just mentioned that could happen in the game. But I think what could be interesting, if this dual list, which I really personally would love to take off, is how people are going to utilize it, right? So like, are they going to do like big Knights of Avarice, oops all gas, and then something like oops all fire, and like that's what they're going to do? Or is someone going to run kind of the mid-range everything that's okay list, and then have all combat helmets, and then their other list is just all gas masks? You know, like it could be very little or very dramatic. I think it could make the, I hate to say meta, but the more common armies that you would typically see winning most of the games, a little bit less static.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because I think it's very similar to or it will achieve something very similar to what 40k did by changing its way you build a list. It made the meta wider because now you have more options to take into games. So hopefully, with a tournament pack like this and that dual list system, there isn't a set meta for the game this early into the game being brought into a tournament sort of market. So yeah, hopefully it does broaden the scope a little bit, as you were saying. And I'm quite interested to see, because in my own event I'm running in later this year in March, I've said we'll use the tournament pack and I'll update people with changes to that as it goes. But if you run a faction and a sub-faction, then you have to make both your lists from that sub-faction, because I want to sort of narrow it down a little bit, but still not remove that mechanic, because I feel like it means that people are bringing less models as well. It's easier to transport if you're going, right, well, I'm Knights of Avarice and I've got this list that does this and this list that does this. And I'm not all of a sudden carrying like a 40k army case for a small event because I'm going 700 ducats. So what I want to see is how the pack plays at smaller point level games, faster games, and with a little bit more restriction into it, but still, upholding mainly how the pack is presented to us, how you guys have written it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And definitely want to make it clear, like, first off, it's awesome that you're using at least any part of the pack. Whatever we're making, we're not trying to have it be gospel or whatever the saying is. Like, we love if people are using it to iterate their own packs or just using bits and bops of it for their own event. And that's really cool. And then the second thing that might have just left my head completely, yeah, it's totally gone. But Norman, you had something to say.
Yeah. No, we're really interested to see how that goes. It's actually one of the things that were brought up when we were going through this with the Factory Fortress folks. We got their final check on everything.
Yeah.
One of the concerns they had with the dual list system was exactly that. Like, are people going to have to bring it's, I think, according to our current thing, the most you would ever bring is 27 models. That's if you're bringing Go Wide Great Hunger with 15, and then you're maxing out 12 on your other list as well.
Yeah.
So, like, is that a problem? I mean, for me, and I'm so willing to admit that both of us have bias here where we're transporting entire armies all the time. But for me, I'm like, 25 models. That's easy. I'll pack that in my little foam thing and I'm good to go.
I would put that in a sweatshirt pocket.
Not as easy for me to play knights. Much harder to fit in a pocket.
So do I. When I fly with knights, because I compete with Chaos Knights, generally when I fly with them, and I do a lot of conversions. That's always been my bit. It's like every model's a conversion, every model's a project. The only way I can travel with them is I magnetize them as best I can, and then I snap them apart and shove them in foam, and then build them again when I get to the event. So hopefully folks won't have to do that with their models. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I'm interested to see, is kind of my short answer. I think that a lot of people have a lot of overlap between two lists. I can't see a reality where you're bringing 27 distinct models unless you plan on doing that for like paint reasons and you want your things to look distinct or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, 'cause even if I'm bringing like Go Wide Great Hunger and then I'm bringing like Go Wide Vanilla Grail, I'm still bringing thralls, right? My thralls are still thralls.
Yeah.
My knights are still knights. And it's like for WYSIWYG purposes, I can kind of understand it, but like for the most part, there's going to be overlap. I'm not so worried about the model count, but it's something we have our eyes on for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of models and converting, are you worried about, with this being a more narrative game and it being miniature agnostic as well? Are you worried about people modeling for advantage, and how do you think tournament organizers can mitigate that?
So, short answer is, are we worried? No. Are we expecting it? A little bit. I think it's going to happen by accident. We don't, like, another thing we never wanted to do is go back on any of the tenets that the Trench Crusade team has set. And one of them is, it's a mini agnostic game, like you said. And like I just said, for my personal armies, I kit bash a lot. I love my conversions. I think they make the army feel like it's yours. And there's some amazing creativity coming out of the Trench Crusade scene that it would be very stupid to try to stifle that for, these kinds of events. That said, the thing that we're hard and fast on every time is base size has to be correct. That's in the rules. That's part of your, I don't know. I want to say data sheet, but that's 40K. Whatever. Your profile, right, for your model. Is your base size, that has to be the same, and then like it's gonna have to be case by case. I think we'll have to do proxy approval, like a lot of events do, and it's gonna be a longer list of stuff to do, on TOs, which is a strain on TOs that I'm not stoked to put on them, but at the same time, like we gotta be welcoming to this kind of creativity, or else we're headed toward that watered down Trench Crusade that we were so worried about.
The thing as well is that, regardless of whether or not you guys did it in your tournament pack or at one of your games or events, it is going to be a problem that will come up eventually anyway, that someone's going to have to start doing sort of more dialed in proxy judgment to see whether or not something can be used in a game, because with the Grigori Gula, for example, the original sculpt for that was Malam, who is probably a good inch or two taller than the new Grigori Gula. But if someone brings that in, they're kind of technically putting themselves at a disadvantage, because now it's easier to see. But I can certainly see someone bringing in a crouch down one that's a little bit more hidden so they can hide it behind terrain because it's such a fast moving piece. And that would be a problem, I think, for anyone designing a tournament for Trench Crusade, because like you say, the community is so creative and it is such a kit bash friendly and a miniature agnostic game. It's so encouraged to sort of build your own things and make your own creative way to your own warband, that yeah,
Right.
it would have come up whether or not you guys have said this is what we're going to do or not.
Yeah. I think one of our solutions for Adepticon is we may just have models on standby. And if it comes up that, like, hey, this thing looks way smaller or way bigger than what the standard thing is, we can mark where the model is, replace it with the official one, and be like, all right, yeah, this is 2 inches taller,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
That's like, and that's a band-aid, honestly. That's not really a hard and fast good solution. But I'm so worried about stifling the creativity of the community. I really just don't want to do that. And yeah, we might have to do like silhouettes or like tolerances or something like that if it gets really bad. Like, hey, like your Grigori Gula has to be within like 2 inches of the official height of like the standing one, let's say, or whatever.
Yeah.
2 inches is a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot,
Like,
but no,
half an inch or whatever. It's something we're gonna have to explore, but it's something that also we don't want to make any decisions on until we have data in front of us.
Yeah.
Because it could be there's no problem, like at the end of the day, right? It could be we have a couple of angle shooters coming out there who put their artillery witch on like 7-inch tall spires so that they can see the whole table. Like, all right,
Yeah.
sure.
But, sick, dude. You're cool.
If it really comes down to it, then we'll address it. It's one of those things. But I think it's something we definitely have our eyes on. It's something we're definitely planning on addressing, but we don't want to put down any rulings now.
No, and I think it's worth mentioning to the person that asked that question is that it very much depends on the local meta and the local tournament scene. If the people going to that tournament are bringing, like you say, an artillery witch that's built on a really tall scenic base, so they get that advantage of line of sight and things like that, that'll come down to the individual tournament organizers to look at. It's not necessarily for you guys to say, well, this is the hard and fast rule that every tournament's got to see. You're just one of many tournament organizers making a tournament pack, albeit for quite a large tournament and quite a publicly known one. But even so, it's still one of many possible packs that could have been done. So it is worth remembering that the guys aren't sticking you to a hard and fast rule to say you must do this in a tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or even like, I mean, if you believe some of the comments we've gotten, we're going to people's homes and telling them how to play. But like, for the most part, we want to provide a guideline that's easy to replicate, that we feel is balanced, and it's fun. Like at the end of the day, right? It's engaging, it's fun, it lets skill show through, but like really at the end of the day, we just care about the games being fun. And we not only are fully expecting folks to deviate from this or even ignore it, we're welcoming it. We'll steal the good ideas. We're happy to do that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. Like we were talking to some of the folks from like the Polish scene who ran the Belgium event, or helped run the Belgium event, and they have some great ideas. They have a very different view of what competitive Trench Crusade should look like compared to what we have. That's fine. I'm not trying to tell them like, no, you got to stop running tournaments this way. You got to do it this way. Like, no, they're being super successful with they got their own thing going on, and people having a blast. There's no reason to stop them from doing that. And we are absolutely going to be learning lessons from them. I hope that they'll learn lessons from us if there are lessons to be learned from us. It's just we're trying to provide, like, again, it's an easy to replicate guideline for stuff for people to use. That's the only reason the PDF exists.
Oh, fair. And do you think that, so one of the questions we got was, do you think that the terrain pack and the missions capture the feel of Trench Crusade, or were the sacrifices made for a more balanced playstyle for you to put it into a tournament setting?
So I have a funny story about that, actually.
Right, yeah, okay. Go ahead.
When we were designing it, they were originally a little bit more vanilla. A lot of like the extra rules weren't there. Like for the first mission, getting the blood marker at the end of it wasn't there. They were a lot more static. And Ryan came to me and was like, hey, we gotta spice these up a little bit, I'm like, I don't know. I want to make sure they're competitive. I want to make sure they're symmetrical. I don't want people to lose on like a random dice roll they don't have control over. What we ended up doing is our friend Sammy Day, who ran the Nova narrative, she is an amazing game designer. She designed all the missions at the Nova Narrative. She has her own zine out with a custom campaign and full rule set. Malian
Scouring.
Yes. You can find the review for that on Goonhammer, as well as a link to it. Really cool. Highly suggest checking it out. But she's like all the way narrative, like opposite end of the spectrum from where we're sitting. So the compromise we came to was I should be a little bit worried releasing the missions, and then she should be a little bit bored.
Yeah.
So we knew if we hit that kind of middle line where we both were like, yeah, these are good missions, but I wish it was like this, you know? We don't want everyone to hate it, obviously.
Yeah.
But like we wanted to hit that like middle line, and then we sent it over to Sammy. She did a pass. And then we asked like, oh, well, what do you think? And she's like, yeah, they're great. I think they're a little vanilla. And I sent her the screenshot of the conversation with Ryan. Yeah, no. So the short answer is yes. We definitely made sacrifices to make it, more competitive. That said, we really try to keep the spirit of it feeling like you were doing something in all of these missions. Mm-hmm. We wanted things to feel wacky. We wanted things to feel risky. We wanted things to feel interesting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, right, we don't want a situation where you lose because the mission was too weird, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think like Ryan and I both playing competitive AOS, there are certain missions that we see in a packet and we groan. Like this is a pain in the ass to set up. It's annoying to play, and then I'll lose because the objective marker is scattered in a weird direction, and now I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So we wanted to avoid that. Absolutely. So yeah, this is the middle ground we kind of got to. And I just to keep talking because I love hearing myself talk, but it's worth mentioning all of these scenarios were an experiment in their own way.
Right.
Just to quickly run through them. Like scenario 1, we were actually playing with a way to sticky objectives to keep an objective under your control even if you walked away from it for the whole pack.
Right.
So scenario 1 was our way of saying, okay, let's see how people respond to this kind of, it's a very simple take and hold these objectives scenario. You could hold them by standing on them, or you could hold them by doing an action and walking away. It's a little risky to stand on them. You can get blood markers that way. We didn't want you to be potentially taken out of action because of it, because that feels really bad. But it's risky to stand on them, right? So you want to sticky them and walk away, but if you want to make sure you're scoring, you got to stand there. So we put that in. We're waiting to see how that turns out. I think scenario 2 is supply drop. Supply drop was an experiment in pure action-based scoring.
Right.
And I think that is a good example of a failed experiment. People have not responded well to it. And it's fair. It's very easy to just roll 4s all game and not score any points. It sucks.
Yeah.
So
it's also weighted towards heretic players, isn't it? Sorry to cut you off there, but the heretic players are a little bit better at doing actions because is it the blasphemous staff?
Blasphemous staff.
Yeah. They get a bit of an advantage in that game. So unfortunately for the heretic players that come into my event, that's not going to be in the tournament pack for us. I don't want any of the heretic players winning, to be honest, because they're filthy heretics. They shouldn't be allowed to win.
Yeah, I like that. Actually, Norman, I'm going to make a note down. Can't let heretic players actually enter the tournament. You can't.
You know what? I'm going to quit Goonhammer. I think I'm done. I think I'm retiring.
Yeah.
But no, I think like for changes, we're gonna make it less points if you stand on it. We still want it to be an action focused game, and then we're gonna make the action easier to do. Probably do +1 dice.
Right.
But that's our next pass. We haven't tested that yet. I don't want to say that's what's gonna happen, but that's what's next for Ryan and I to test when we get a game day again. The third mission is an experiment with underdog mechanics. I traditionally hate underdog mechanics. I think they suck. I think it feels really bad when you're winning and then your opponent gets a nice little treat because they're losing. But I think that they're an interesting thing. A lot of people resonate with them, and it'd be very stupid to ignore them. So it's an experiment with seeing how people respond to an underdog mechanic. The way that mission works is there's a priority objective every turn, usually determined randomly, and then if you are the underdog, you get to pick which objective it's going to be.
Yeah.
But your opponent has a full round to respond to that. It's kind of like the trade-off there. So like if you're really getting your butt kicked, it won't matter which one you pick, right? Yeah. Like I'm just going to shift my focus over. And then the way the point scoring works, if I'm controlling 2 and you're controlling the priority every turn, I'm going to win on points. So we plan that out pretty specifically to see how that feels. And if we get the feedback that folks say, oh, well, it feels like this doesn't mean anything because I'm not scoring enough points, then we know we didn't go far enough. If we get the feedback that I don't love that my opponent is able to dictate, how many points I'm going to score next turn, then we know maybe we dial back underdog mechanics or even put him to the side for now.
Yeah.
The last mission was us kind of getting really weird with it. It's the pick up the artifact and then American football style, run it to the end zone.
Yeah, it's like Trench Crusade meets Blood Bowl a little bit, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's really change the game entirely.
Yeah. So actually that one's it's a spin on my least favorite 40k mission.
Yeah.
Servo Skulls. But I think it works really well in Trench Crusade because you have this, because in I go you go system, it's very easy to like, all right, like you picked up 2, I'm going to kill those guys and I'm going to pick them up and then you're going to kill me and then you're going to pick them up. It just, feels really bad in my opinion, but in a activation focused game, you can be a lot more specific about how you're moving your guys around and be a lot more intentional. And that one was seeing how weird we can get with missions and get away with it in a competitive context.
Right.
I think everyone who's played it has really liked it. At least from our samples.
Yeah, from what we've gotten told.
Yeah. People really seem to enjoy that mission, so we might be exploring some more weird objectives and weird rules in the future. There are definitely problems with it that we need to address, like picking up the artifact cost is an action that ends your turn. Again, there's no pluses to it. Again, favors heretics. We'll be playing around with that to make it a little easier to do. But yeah, like that's kind of what our design philosophy was behind all the scenarios. Ryan, I talked a lot. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's been said completely clearly for the masses and the creatures of the night on Reddit and all the beings and freaks and weirdos, respectfully. But this pack is a work in progress. The pack is there to be a fun thing, a fun template that we're going to be using for the Adepticon competitive tournament.
Yeah.
It's not the law, it's going to be changing, it's going to be updated, and we're going to be making it the best that we can. And not all of the information is being shown on both sides. So things are still cooking.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask as well, Ryan, considering you were coming more from the narrative side of it with the pack, is there anything that you guys cut out that you would have liked to have stayed in the pack that was a bit more narrative focused that you had to dial down on to make it more competitive?
So, I mean, I'm definitely not that narrative player in any means. No, I mean, I enjoy narrative stuff, but I think something that we're going to be doing, and I'm sure we're going to be mentioning it very soon, are tweaks to the terrain and more information on things that are going to be added, such as dangerous terrain and easier ways to get up higher, and more opportunities to interact with all of the funky terrain rules that Trench Crusade has to offer, diving charges, things of that nature. And when we were trying to push this out, at kind of just like a funky time, for the deadlines and stuff, there wasn't a very clear rubric, kind of just handed to us, or like a recipe of what to do. Kind of just improvising a little bit, trying to get stuff out and make it look good. But to continue to put in or like keep the Trench Crusade identity, I think terrain is going to be probably the next thing on top of the mission things that Norman just talked about, which will give a little bit more Trench Crusadiness to the games that we're trying to have play.
Yeah. Our original games, we had a lot of scatter on top of those pieces of terrain. We played with tall pieces and shorter pieces and things where, things look a little more realistic than everything being 2.5 inches high. Then these things are always 5 inches high.
Yes.
Yeah. Ryan's got some samples of what we were playing with.
Yes. So like when we were kind of rough drafting the terrain layout and stuff like that, we were using these rocks and craters and bumps and stuff like to give cover and have different interactions and stuff. And I think a challenge that we've mentioned before, or just a fact of the matter, is we're trying to make this a replicatable thing for other tournament organizers to use or gain inspiration off of. And having a 3-page document of like, this is how many sandbags that you should have, and this is how many, barricades that you should have, and then having like you need an engineering degree in Trench Crusade matrices to understand a terrain layout that's replicatable. That's kind of what we're trying to handle.
Yeah. So actually, I have here. This is a prototype set a friend of ours who has a laser cutter made for us.
Yeah.
So I'm still painting it. It's not going to look like this. It's not going to be bare empty.
Oh my god, is that a square? Oh my god, a flat square.
So they come apart pretty easily. But the idea is these pack down flat, and my buddy can print off 12 tables of this in 3 days.
Yeah.
And I can be tournament ready. As an event organizer, right? I can have a table of this kind of terrain ready in a few days, right? And it's pretty easy to paint. It's a square. One of the things we have that go with it. Let me see if I can put this back together real quick. But one of the things that we have that go with it are these little barricades that we'll be playing with. They kind of plug in like that. If I can get it in there. Yeah. It's like now there's some front cover, right? Obviously, we probably want more in the middle of the top of these big pieces of terrain, but it's all stuff that we're trying. This is our prototyping set. This is meant to be stackable. So if we want to go even higher, like our next iteration, one of the big pieces of feedback we got is there's not enough verticality. So our next iteration of the map, we're going to be stacking these on top of each other, playing with like 7-inch tall pieces of terrain, maybe even 10-inch tall. I don't know if we're doing bridges yet because I just don't think we're going to have them in time for Adepticon, honestly.
All right.
But it's definitely a thing that we're talking about and trying to plan through. But yeah, like Ryan said, at the core, we really wanted this to be easily replicatable and then permutatable, from there. So like folks can make these squares and then add their scatter.
Yeah.
We are thinking about, speaking of stealing from other games, we're thinking about stealing a mechanic from Kill Team, where players bring, or not necessarily bring, but the board is provided with like 6 pieces of scatter, probably 2 barricades and 1 piece of dangerous, like 3 inches long, less than 1 inch wide, just so.
Or played as less than 1 inch tall, so you could walk over it.
Yeah, exactly. So that way you can have the board look a little more asymmetrical. You add a little bit more of that like standard Trench Crusade, you build the table element to things. What we were worried about initially, and the reason we didn't include that initially, is we don't want people to lose not playing Trench Crusade.
All right.
That's like an important thing to us, but I think it's pretty clear we need something like that. Yeah, it's just another thing we're trying. I'm not saying it's set in stone.
And that would be just because I can already foresee the internet being the internet. That would be in addition to other pieces of scatter and other items on the terrain that are not squares.
Yeah.
There will not just be we're not just being like, oh yeah, 6 pieces of scatter. Here you go, peasants. No, there's gonna be there's gonna be stuff on it or marked in the layout. More to kind of go with like how we covered and stuff. It's gonna be, the boards are gonna be fun. They're gonna be cool.
See, that's one of the questions that was asked on the Reddit was, why are you using L-shaped ruins? Because the approach doesn't seem to take advantage of the game's terrain rules. And you're not even using L-shaped ruins, so it already seems like some people are... Oh my god!
Oh my god! So scary!
It's an L shape! But, it already seems like people are looking at it and going, oh, they're trying to standardize it too much. And like you say, it is a work in progress to this. And yes, there are some L shapes because, surprise, surprise, a lot of tournament organizers have access to L-shaped ruins. But, if you are going with this sort of modular terrain system that you're looking at trying to get built for Adepticon, it isn't going to be rocking up to a 40k board and playing Trench Crusade on it. That's not what the missions and the maps are. They will look similar to people that play 40k and other game systems because that's an easy way of representing a battle map and making it more easily replicatable for other stores who want to try this. But yeah, don't get hung up on it, because what you're looking at on the terrain pack is a flat 2-dimensional photo of this is where we would say the terrain should be. Don't automatically assume that is going to look like, oh well, that's obviously an L-shaped room, and that's obviously a X amount of inches tall building that is this, that, and the other, and it's basically a large kill team board or a small 40k board. Read the pack is what I'm trying to say, and sort of. I don't want to come across as patronising to anybody, but just read through the pack and look at it for what it is being presented as a work in progress as well, and don't jump the gun on your expectations of things. It has to be easily replicatable for other stores who want to try this. But also there are things in there that are very different to other tournament packs you will have seen before. So give it a chance and don't jump on it because it's a tournament pack for a narrative game. Don't jump down the guy's necks and assume they're taking away all the identity of Trench Crusade. Because reading through the pack, that's not what it's trying to do. It seems like it's going to be quite a lot of fun. But that's just my sort of 2 cents that I wanted just to put in there, because judging from some of the comments I've seen by some people, they've not really looked at the pack in a way. They've sort of seen 1 or 2 things, cherry picked it and gone, oh my god, I'm angry about this. All right, cool.
The internet.
Yeah, the internet. No, Reddit's
well,
a strange place.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that for sure. But we're also really, really stoked to see that people care. I mean, just on you know, whether like in between all the shenanigans of the internet, there's just a lot of people that just want to see game in this world succeed and be cool and do cool things and have cool things happen for it. A couple of comments are like, I have no interest in competitive stuff, but I'm glad that this is a thing that's being talked about and made. Like, that's neat.
I think that's
one of the
thing
things
is,
that we talked
sorry,
about.
Go on.
Oh,
sorry, I cut you off then. Go on.
It's the delay. One of the things we talked about with Jamie pretty early on is like the reason any of us go to tournaments, because Jamie is also someone who goes to tournaments, is to hang out with folks. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Like Ryan and I went to Du Bois up in Rochester, New York in October. I could tell you very little about my games of Age of Sigmar that weekend. I could tell you a lot about how good hard Arizona iced teas are.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like just the hangs, like that's what it's all about. It's providing a way to make events that are relatively low lift for tournament organizers. Running a campaign is really hard. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
And getting the boards together is a ton of work. So like I said, it was just a way for more events to happen. This time in a competitive context. For those who prefer that or are waiting to jump into Trench Crusade when that happens, like, cool. Like, this is a cool way to do that. You know, we're not trying to tell people, hey, this is a competitive game now. We're not trying to take campaign players away from campaigns. We're not, you know, I think we're just trying to provide another way to interact with the system. And it's amazing. Like, I think it's worth mentioning. This system is like, I have a game design background. It's not as robust as, you know, the folks who work on this by any means, but it's an amazing system. It's super resilient. You can do so much with it. It's super customizable and it just works. It's super easy to teach people. I taught my little brother over Thanksgiving in like 20 minutes. He's never played a tabletop game in his life. And he was like, oh yeah, I get this. So if I move this Death Commando here, you lose, right? I go, yeah. But yeah, no, like we had a blast, and that's what it's all about. It's just quick pickup games, and it's lower lift than a campaign. That's all we're trying to do.
I think that's the other thing, isn't it? That, like Ryan was saying, there's so many people that are passionate about the game and just want to see it succeed and want to see good things come for it. And some people want to play tournaments, some people want to play narratives. There being a tournament pack and there being tournaments doesn't mean that you can't play narrative anymore. You can do both. That is an option. If you want to be a tournament player and a narrative player, no one's saying you have to pick a side. But if these tournaments do become more popular and more people make tournament packs, there's bigger interest in the game from a more competitive community as well. That just helps everybody because it gets the games out there in conventions where they're going to be seen. It gets people drawn into the game that have never seen it before, that might attend these cons that don't know what Trench Crusade is. And narrative games and narrative campaigns are massive for the community because that's the heart of the game. But also getting it out there to people that might not have experienced that sort of thing before because they're a more tournament player is also important as well to build that community. And I think that's worth remembering and important to say as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I come at it from the opposite angle. When I organize the Goonhammer Open narrative every year, I try to get as many tournament players playing that as possible.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of folks have this misconception that tournament or narrative play or campaign play is like the tournament for bad players, especially in 40K. It's like kind of a problem where we'll make this narrative and folks will sign up and be like, yeah, this is my second game of Warhammer. And that's like not happening at the grand tournament. Like, dog, this is way harder. There's way more stuff going on. There's way more stuff you got to keep track of. The boards are weird. You have to like understand the weaknesses of your army. It's way harder. But tournament players that I've gotten to play in the narrative have had a blast just changing the way they look at the game, you know? So it's really interesting coming at it. I've been like pushing competitive players like, hey, you guys got to try these weirder missions because if they're designed well, it really is fun and it's a completely different way to play with your toys. And it's funny coming at it from the opposite angle now of a lot of people who have never even thought about going to a tournament, right? Are like, oh, well, now competitive's going to take over my game. Like, not really. Like, for me, if I'm going to be real. Like, well, if I was to go into Adepticon and the tournament was on the same day as the narrative, thank God it's not. I don't want to compete with Sammy. She's way better at this than we are. But if they were on the same day, I'd probably do the narrative because I can play those competitive games at home. And that's just me, you know, and I'm like a super tournament focused player. Sure, the trophies and the prestige and the stuff we're going to be handing out is really cool. And I can't wait for people to see the trophies. It's going
to be sick. Yeah. And as another point, like if I were to be going to Adepticon for whatever reason, I would just be hoping that there's a tournament going on, because the brain worm goblins in the back of my head like require me to have to try and sweat as hard as possible where I can. But then it's nice to also have that narrative space there if that's what you want to do. Like I've played in Norman's Kuhnhammer, open narrative, whatever. And like usually when I'm playing, whether it's AOS, 40k, whatever, I try and flood the board with as many bing bong weirdos as I can and teleport around to be tricky, and like charging is really scary, so I run away and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then for narrative, I was like, I am going to just bring jetpack dudes and I'm going to run at my opponent, and it's going to be a great time. And it's just, yeah, you can do both and have a good time doing both and have the mentality to do whatever you want.
Yeah. I think the other thing as well is that some tournament players don't realize how broken narrative players make things. Because, you know, game 12 in a Trench Crusade tournament, when you played St. Methodius and you've got an elite anchorite, that's broken when it's got like 12 abilities and it's just one-shotting people. So, you know,
right.
as much as some people might be looking at this going, oh, tournament players are going to sort of move in and ruin the game, whatever like that, maybe it's the narrative players who are going to step up into the tournaments and sort of come at it from a weird angle that tournament players have never experienced before. Look at it as a fun experience that both sides will learn from. And like you said, you can do both. And it's absolutely possible to break something in a narrative way and a tournament way. This time we get to do it both at the same event because it's a narrative game with a tournament spin on it.
Yeah. One of the rules things we've seen as a request is folks saying like, oh, well, you should play with letting people take patron skills or advancements.
Oh, God.
And I look at those tables and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that anytime soon. Unless we get some like overwhelming, like there's not a lot, like lists are stale, there's not a lot of variety, whatever. Then we might break that glass, but no.
Yeah, but you'd have a guy with like, right, I'm going to take piston legs on an elite anchorite so it can already sprint. Then I'm going to give it sprinter and dodger, and then I'm going to also give it champion so it gets 2 attacks in melee with its Catherine wheel, and then it gets to hit you with the Bronebreaker mace. Yeah, like if you start giving them patron skills and things like that, it's basically just going to be like one model is going to demolish an entire warband. So I think patron skills and and things like that should probably be left solidly in the campaign. That's my thought behind it, anyway. But speaking about some missions that we could see going forward in the packs, what about the NPC style missions that we've seen in Trench Crusade, like the Dragon Hunt? Do you reckon that could be adapted to a tournament setting? Or is that something that's a bit too swingy for a tournament?
That's actually another thing that we wanted to do, or I wanted to do. And
we talked about it. We definitely talked about it.
I was like, well, what if we made the last round Dragon Hunt? Wouldn't that be cool? And Ryan had the great point of, it's going to take too long to set up. People are going to get confused. People are going to get it wrong. People are going to lose because the dragon just killed them.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't really work out. But I don't want to say never to anything, right?
Yeah.
But like,
yeah,
probably not, because one of the things for tournament play is that games need to be a set time, right? And it's super important for people to finish their games. Campaign play, you can kind of get away with people not finishing their games. You still get like your glorious deeds, you still get whatever. You just add up your points where it's at, and you go on to your next game with your advancements. Tournament play is super important that people finish their games.
Yeah.
So adding the third party element and then having to control it, having to understand its rules, having to understand how it interacts with your guys, and then like it's a big wrench thrown into it. Probably not in the near future. If we were to do it, I would probably make the round like an hour longer.
Yeah.
For that one. But
yeah, I mean, like the Dragon Hunt is like already a thing and it's thick. Like that'd be cool. But I mean, there's always it's an open-ended thing, right? We could always have like, someone has to do an attack action, whether it's melee or whatever, like blow up this thing in the middle and it scatters rocks or whatever in whatever inches directions in both sides. We could have like funky interactable stuff like that could still be quote unquote competitive, or I guess symmetrical or balanced, make make sense within the space and also not require an additional hour of homework for people to do at the table to like try and understand what's going on.
I think one way you could maybe do it is have like artillery guns that are technically NPCs, but then but they're like a mercenary. So if you can get to an objective, you can pay their guy. Oh well, I'm going to give you a victory point to shoot these other people, and stuff like that. Maybe that could be a thing you could do where you can kind of play around with your own resources that you've got during the fight to buy in extra support for yourself. But then that's really swingy, because if you're paying victory points, then you can put yourself behind and not really have an effect on the enemy.
Right.
Which I guess would be a little bit like the underdog mechanic you were talking about earlier on.
Yep.
But sorry, you had something you were going to say, Norman. Do you want to finish that off?
Nothing crazy important. I do like the idea, actually. Victory points as a resource is very interesting. I kind of want to explore that now. I hadn't considered it, honestly.
I mean, I'll only charge a very small fee for that idea.
We'll do percentages. You can get a large percentage of the $0 we're getting from that.
Yeah, we'll work it out. We'll have our guys text you guys or whatever. Send you a fax.
I'll have it all delivered by carrier pigeon, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's funny. Now I'm thinking of like our resources that almost every warband has access to. So like blood markers, and then having like a blood bank or something. Then I don't know, depositing blood markers for a thing to happen. I don't know. Yeah, there's funk.
Yeah, I got like 3 missions cooking right now.
Yeah.
Just from this conversation, honestly.
Yeah, they're just probably not for Adepticon, but for something.
No, definitely not for Adepticon. We're sticking with the missions we have in the pack for Adepticon. One of the important things was, getting these out there so people can practice them. That was a little peek behind the curtain. The reason I don't want to say the reason it's in the state it's in, because I'm actually pretty proud of the state that it released in.
Yeah,
there's some problems with it for sure, but but the reason that it might be a little bit less baked than it looks like is we thought we had until January to do this. But then it turns out Adepticon reveals their events before they go live be purchased. So we knew Trench Crusade Tournament was going to be revealed there, and we wanted to have something out when that happened. And so we kind of rushed. Like, I was working until 2 a.m. like for 4 days before the pack went out, making sure things were formatted correctly, making sure the rules worked. Like, that was actually something that I'm super happy with. We haven't got a lot of things that are like, hey, this doesn't work, rules is written, right? Like, all the missions function.
Yeah.
I'm really, really happy with that. For all its worth, I'm really, really proud of what we made. But yeah, like, we kind of rushed it out to make sure that we met the Adepticon deadline, because we want people to be able to practice it. We want people to know what they're getting into. We'll probably have I don't even want to say probably, we will have a more robust player pack that'll go over like code of conduct, paint standards, stuff like that, the minutia. And we'll probably be releasing that to the public as well, just so folks have like a template to work from.
Yeah.
That's going to be so organizer by organizer. I don't want to tell people how to do that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, for us, it's like, no hate speech at the table. Like, don't be a dick. If you somehow fail to meet these incredibly low standards, we will eject you from the event. Like, that kind of thing.
Yeah, stuff like that.
But yeah, we wanted folks who plan on attending to know what they're getting into as soon as possible.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, and there, like Norman said, there will be updates to things, and I think the last reason we wanted to pump this out as quickly as we can is for feedback, which we've been getting a ton of.
Yeah. All feedback's good.
A lot of it's been, I mean, there has been there's been a lot of good feedback. There's a lot of in-depth, nitty-gritty stuff too, which has been really cool to see. But yeah, we see you, we hear you, we're working on it.
I think we've gone through all the questions that we had from the Reddit, and I just want to say, like, give it a go, guys. It is actually quite a nicely done little pack. You might not like everything that's in it, but like the guys have said, it's a first run of what they can develop and what it might look like going forward. So interact with it, give them feedback, tell them what you think might help them improve it. But most of all, just give it a go, and I think you will enjoy it because some of the missions do look really interesting. Obviously, heretic players are banned from every action-based mission. I need to work out a way of doing that in my own tournament. But yeah, if there's anything you guys want to shout out before we close up today, do you want to start off, Ryan? Is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't spoken about today? Anything you want to promote coming up?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. There's going to be, again, updates to the terrain, adding more trench crusadiness, with scatter and dangerous and opportunities for verticality and more safety for your big guys, diving charges, stuff. All the goodies that we want. That the information was not made obvious and not really shown initially that people were upset with. So yes, the intentions are there, and then we're excited. We're excited for Adepticon. We're excited for more Trench Crusade.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for all the feedback. Keep sending it.
I just want to say before we pass on to Norman, I think that all the terrain should actually be circular in half moons, because that really mess people's heads up. Wouldn't it? It's like everything's,
at least it's not an L.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's circular now and crescent moon shaped, and you're like, what is this?
Good luck measuring that.
Yeah, they'd soon be asking for L-shaped terrain back, wouldn't they? But yeah, Norman, same question to yourself. Anything that you want to talk about that we haven't spoken about today? Anything that you think the people might want to know about Adepticon, the pack, or something coming up for Goo and Hammer that we might have missed? And yeah, over to you.
If folks haven't read it already, Ryan and I are planning to do a bunch of dev diaries for this over on goonhammer.com. It's called Comp Crusade. If you Google that, it'll show up.
We'll have it all linked below as well.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah. So only one's out right now, and it kind of goes over our design ethos for it a little bit, and very basic intro information. A lot of it, honestly, we covered here. So if you watch to this part, you probably don't need to read that one, but stay tuned for future ones. In addition, if you do play it and you have feedback, please send it to compcrusade@goonhammer.com. It's linked in the packet. It's linked in the dev diaries. We try to put it everywhere we could. That is the best way to make sure that we see the feedback. Frankly, I don't spend my days looking at Reddit threads about things I made that people don't like. But
well, you should.
We definitely went through it for the feedback. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not where I'm looking. Right. I'm keeping an eye on the Trench Crusade Discord. I'm keeping an eye in a few different places, but to make sure that we see it, when we're going through and making sure we're checking off all the boxes for feedback, it's through that email inbox. So if you send your email there, I promise you we're reading it. I promise you we're looking at it. We will not push out an update until every single email in there is addressed in one way or another.
That sounds good. The last thing that I want to say then, guys, is just thank you both for coming on. As I said, we will have some links below, so especially to that dev diary as well, so you can go over and check out some of the guys' thoughts that maybe they didn't mention in this, but like they say, it's probably all covered. And also, yeah, if you want to check out the Adepticon pack, I'll have that linked in the comments as well. So if you do play it, you want to give them feedback, go through that, play a few games next week or something like that. Send them some feedback, let them know what you think they can do to improve. And then also for my own channel as well, if you do want to like, subscribe, share this video with a friend so that, they can have a bit of information on the pack as well. And if you do want to support me, there is the Patreon linked in that pinned comment. But, finally, guys, I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you to the guys for coming on, and we will see you all soon.